The fourth and final round of the night is upon us here, and we're very, very excited to bring you the cream of the crop, at least here in Clash 3. Once again, we are treated to maybe an extended deck, one that we've seen before, and a new one to enter our mainframe. I mean, Silent Night, these decks are going to be a treat. One way or another, someone's going to ramp up, and they're going to ramp up in a very interesting fashion.
Yeah, and exactly right. And both these decks right now are 3-0. And first off, we have Baited Hook DARIUS. Now, of course, we've seen this in round 2, exactly how big this deck can go and how fast it can go, too. Now, of course, you are going to be relying a little bit on, can I find the baited hook in time? But if you are able to, man, can the tide quickly shift for this very powerful deck. Not only that, there is a lot of accelerated units here to be able to behold here. Draven can be a really devastating one, especially that mid to late game as well. There is a lot to see here, and I am excited to see. But on the flip side, you see it, you love it. We have Miss Fortune with Dazzling Auroras.
Oh, such a treat. Another type of amp up, kind of re-roll and hope that you get the best, but not exactly a re-roll of sorts. Dazzling Aurora being the big one, drawing out those 7/8 costs in there, ending your turn, trying to reveal the top of your deck, trying to play it as quickly as possible, and just seeing what hits at the end of the day. And for Sold Out, it's a treat to behold all the same. So I'm really, really excited. And talk to me a little bit more about, because this deck sounded so interesting when we first talked about it, just the ability to place units on the board free of cost as we head on in.
Well, exactly, and that's going to be the big part here as well. Can I go ahead and Baited Hook, if you have that in your starting hand, you're going to be able to go ahead and hit the ground running pretty fast. Likewise, Dazzling Auroras, that takes a long time to get up to that, 9 runes and being able to have to recycle 2 as well. That's going to be very difficult to maybe go back. If you can go ahead and get that Dazzling Auroras out, not only are you going to be able to build up your base with, units during your turn, but on top of that, you are going to be able to then get a pretty devastating unit out at the end as well.
Yeah, so many pieces. And of course, taking a look here, we get another opt-in for the battlefields, and this is what I wanted to talk about. We actually had the first time where we are unique across all 6 of the battlefields being played here in this matchup. Of course, for Batsu, we had the Trifarian War Camp, and on the flip for Sold Out, it's the Aspirant's Climb. 2 drastically different battlefields that benefit in different ways as we see the start of the battle here. So for Trifarian War Camp, though, specifically, units here have +1. This includes on the attacker side as well for the Might.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the going wide with DARIUS is going to be such a vital thing, because if you go into the Trifarian War Camp, it's going to be adding 1 to every unit attacking it, and not only that, defending after the fact as well. And then Aspirant's Climb is really awesome as well, because you increase the points needed to win the game by 1, which is very beneficial for Miss Fortune.
Yep, extending the timer of the game, giving you more time to ramp on up, but being a meeting of the minds here, it's a whole treat. And we already saw the start here. Batsu starting things off with a nice little Poro to come on out the Daring Poro, making sure to have Assault on with a +1 when they get ready for the attack, and already stacking that base camp with an extra Trifarian Glory Seeker behind.
Yeah, and so this is going to be the big thing. You're getting that early ramp from Sold Out. And I got to say, we've been watching a lot of games with Sold Out as well over the other Riftlab clashes and things of that nature as well. He's kind of doing the same thing as Prismaticism, where he is playing a different deck every single clash here. Last time, if I remember correctly, we saw him with Annie as well. So to be able to now see him go in with a Miss Fortune that, might be a little bit of an underdog here, especially against something like DARIUS. But man, if he can find the right cards, it can get devastating faster, and you see the Auroras in hand, you see the fight or flight, and not only that, I mean, there are some scary units already in hand that can devastate the opponent.
And I think you're real happy about the fact that you have the Aspirant's Climb right now, because you needed that time. Look at this, base and field is currently completely empty. This is Sold Out's turn to get a push, but Batsu is stacking up really nicely already, having that battlefield taken 3 points in pocket to start, already having the Draven ready to go with the Showboat, and that's going to help a lot. Already with 3 means that Draven gets a little amp up whenever they decide to go to the battlefield and get stuck into a battle. So I keep using that word, but it's there. Discard on 2, though, being pushed in, and you lay out a little extra clean placement of the Dead Bloom Predator, 8 cost in.
And I mean, that's going to be a big deal there. Now, Draven, again, it is already going to be pumped up, which is going to be very scary to have to deal with. Now, the Deadboot Predator is going to do a good job at trying to slow down the opponent. You're exactly right about that. But now that's going to be the hard part, too, though, is how do you then try to go ahead and get over the 8, especially with a hitting card? Again, this kind of goes back to the deck knowledge. You're seeing a Misfortune, but it's like, what could this deck even have in it? You know, we haven't seen a whole lot of Misfortune gameplay in these the Chinese regionals, sure, but this could even be a completely different deck than what Batsu has maybe even seen in the past.
And maybe you're hoping, maybe you're thinking about going kind of all in on that factor. As we mentioned, the Draven is in, but you have the Grand Stratagem in hand, which give friendly units +5 might this turn. It's a huge investment, but if you're worried about that ramp up, if you're worried about any sort of that, it's a possible investment. Like, these are the questions that you got to ask, because look at Batsu and you're also wondering, hey, how do I stack up? How do I start stacking up maybe a couple of those tokens if I can get a beta token there, which, by the way, I don't think was hit even in the mulligan. So this is this is kind of that rough start that Batsu is just kind of, okay, can I play out until I get the hook in my hand?
Yeah, and so that's going to be the hard part. And biggest thing too to keep in mind with the Trifarian War Camp is, or sorry, with with Batsu playing Darius, is that if he gets to that 6 might or 6 victory points here, that can really change the game fast.
Yep.
Go ahead and play a grand stratagem or something along those lines to get over and immediately capture those 2 points needed to be able to win the game. And so you're sure, you need one more additional point on top of that, but with the cards in hand, you could very easily take the battlefields and just hit the ground running with this.
I would say they're off to a good start, and it's a shout out as well to SouledOut, having that cam up in the top side. It's always kind of fun watching the players specifically getting an eye, and you can see, I hate to say it and it makes it sound mean, when they struggle, when you can see them really pondering a move, when you almost can see the frustration in their face or the elatedness when they hit the combo or they pull the right card, and it's a treat at the end of the day, at least in my opinion. You can see the kind of setup right now is Batsu honing in on this battlefield, lighting it up with the Darius, with the Draven. The Bash Pros come on in with the Poro for added benefit. Knocking up, it looks like, to a 4. And both players are like, yeah, I got you. Don't worry. Math is hard. I got this. I got this.
Yeah, and exactly right. And now, of course, at the same time, if there are any, things that you need to worry about now, this is going to be fight or flight here. And it's like, do you play that here in this situation? Because I could go ahead and take out a Draven in this case, which could be a very difficult threat to try to go ahead and take care of him, because he's only going to get stronger. If you go ahead and take this battlefield, then Draven goes up to 7 instead. And so it's like, well, do I then use my hidden card at this point? But I mean, also at the same time, you can go ahead and use fight or flight and push back the Darius in this point, and then still be able to, deal some very heavy damage. The Poro will still be able to take it, unfortunately, but you definitely have your options here.
By the way, side note, I love the fact that they added Poros in. I love just having the Poros around because I think they're a fantastic little side piece of, interesting units and all, whatever they give them here. Of course, no Braum in the Legends department, but it's enough. There it is. We go ahead and see that fight or flight utilized. You were talking about it earlier. And with that kind of benefit, it's a stack. 4 for Batsu, and now you occupy the other side of the battlefield. That Trifarian War Camp is now going to be pushing Batsu up, and for SouledOut, you still really haven't amped in as much as you want. You had the opportunity here, but it's got to be now, and you got the stacked deck behind on the draw. Very nice pull.
Well, and that's going to be the hard part here is, like, yeah, you have these big units that might be able to go ahead and make an impact, but especially if you get the Darius going up to 6 points, 7 points, things like that, you're going to be falling behind very quickly. There is a 4-point deficit between Darius and Misfortune right now, and unfortunately, that is going to be harder to come up. SouledOut isn't going to be able to start getting some answers and, more importantly, some board presence.
I mean, at this point, I'm watching, and I wonder if Batsu is kind of seeing that finish line. That, well, you hope that there is the dazzling aurora at the end, but you're kind of deciding, hey, it feels like I kind of want. Do I just keep pressing this advantage? Because you can, depending if SouledOut decides to stay, just kind of eat that damage and pray that you can get next turn, which who knows, you might not even have the next turn, right? It's a difficult side of it. And you have a hand in there. We talked about the grand stratagem already, but there are some other options, right? The Seal of Unity being able to be added in if you wish to amp up with a bit more on the rune scaling. And then you do have, for next turn, if there is any sort of wipe, you have the Spectral Matron to go ahead and add a few more units if you wish to play on your next turn. That 4-point difference of the victory points, as you were saying, is such a great safety net for Batsu here.
Yeah, and I mean, it could very well be coming into play here, trying to get ahead. But Mind Splitter is going to be probably the scariest card here because he can just go ahead and say, hey, what's in your hand? Oh, I don't like that card anymore. It goes to the trash. And so Grand Stratagem is at stake of being lost here. But again, that is going to be another 2 runes that need to be recycled for the power cost of Mind Splitter. And that's going to be putting him potentially further back, especially from getting to the Dazzling Auroras.
Well, the question is how far back is he already set? Like, I hate calling it here. We're only about 9 minutes in. But is there a point where you're just sitting there like you don't have any options? Yeah, you go ahead and sacrifice. You take out that Poro sitting on the Typharian War Camp. But, I mean, that was... It felt like such a lackluster move for how long you were waiting and debating. Do you almost resign that you just kind of got dealt a bad hand at the start here?
Yeah, and that's kind of the hard part here about this is that you didn't have necessarily the initial units potentially needed to, hold back your opponent from potentially taking a lot of battlefields. You saw how fast DARIUS was able to move with 3 points right off the bat. And it's like, now I'm forced to almost play the Dead Blue Predator instead of, trying to get out the Dazzling Auroras, which then if I get the Dazzling Auroras, something big drops at the end of turn. Then next game I can play the next round I can play the Dead Blue Predator on top of that. Then I get another big unit out on, and so unfortunately the momentum just was a little bit missed here. And now with stacked deck, trying to find some options, trying to get some answers in. But again, I hate to say too little too late, especially after watching Annie last game and being wrong both times on that. But, with that being said, it's like, this is a aspirant's climb, if you will, at this point for SouledOut.
It's not even that. You see the stairways there. I don't even think there are stairs anymore. Poor SouledOut is like, bro, I'm climbing the sheer side of the cliff up here. And I want to say it really brings into question. You were talking about meta beforehand, and we see such a rise in the quick pacing decks, right? These decks that burn through 2 and 3, ensuring that either you're eliminating, removing, or adding onto your own pile, versus these types of decks, which are a little bit more gamble heavy. You have to kind of gamble on the fact that, hey, you're not going to hit your starting hand. You might have to sack a lot of extra units, and it sucks. You're losing space, and it's such an interesting discussion to be had, right? It's the idea of how much are you willing to sacrifice and how much are you willing to gamble to try and take a victory in a match? Like, how far are you willing to go?
Exactly, and so that's gonna be the hardest part here. Is that's one of the coolest parts that I love about trading card games as well, is because you are rolling the dice. Yes, you can have a fully optimized deck, if you will, and it can trade because of the card draw. It's like, I don't need 3 seals right now in my hand, but here we are. Thanks, deck. Let's see what we can do to try to get out of this hole I dug myself in. And that's why I love just trading card games as a whole. It's so fun to problem solve and just see what, literally hand you're dealt.
And sometimes you do just got to kind of handshake and be like, yep, that was rough. At this point, we get back into the game. Batsu is holding steady with a 1-1 trade in terms of the battlefield, recognizing that you have enough to kind of stack out against. You are looking on the other side. It's still only 7 runes. Yes, you can pass out 2-9 at the next turn, but by that point, SouledOut is looking at, what, an 8-3, 8-4 position. It feels like Batsu has everything in the tank, and they're expending even further, only 2 cards in hand, just to be like, yeah, I'm strengthening my base. I'm making sure of it. You see a little extra with that hand of Noxus, making sure that you get extra, and there are no reactions, nothing that SouledOut can do in answer. Draw of the Catalyst of Aeons, which is yet another setup piece. The 4 costs a setup piece, which I don't think you like right now.
No, not at all. And I mean, you still do definitely have your big unit that you're going to be able to get out, potentially getting rid of Grand Stratagem in this case. Dazzling Aurora just unfortunately was almost too much of a dead card here.
Yep.
and slowing you down just way too much. I mean, you're really hoping to have, that 4 cost in the beginning hand so you can immediately put out 2 runes and get up to that Dazzling Aurora earlier. But I mean, drawing that off of the deck hurt right now.
I think you even saw it in the camera, and this is what I was talking about, right? You look at SouledOut, and he's like, "Yeah, this was a rough climb right now. You're hanging on to that left side, but the stack is starting to come up. I believe that's around a good, because you got the Draven on hand as well with a climb of 6. So yeah, you can see the 9. You're looking at about 14 on hand plus any extra in the bank that you wish to play. You can see the twist coming around. SouledOut's like, bro, I only have a few options. They're so overhanded. You are going to go ahead and place out that Dazzling Aurora and look to see if you can make any magic happen. You're going to be looking through it. I hate saying it, but look at his face. I feel a little bit bad.
Yeah, well, and this is something that's really interesting right now, too, because especially being 6'3", this is almost your last-ditch effort in this case.
Yep.
I don't know if I would maybe Dazzling Aurora. Maybe I would play the Mountain Drake out instead.
Oh my gosh,
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, you're going through the cards trying to find that one, and there's the Mind Splitter right there. That is a great find. But here's the thing too. Especially we saw Darius with his side deck as well, where he had the gear destruction as well. And so if you were going to lose this game, kind of thing. You just told your opponent, now I have Dazzling Aurora. I'm going to side in now my gear destruction as the Darius player. So if you do play out the Auroras, I have a much better chance of being able to deal with it come game 2 and even game 3 if I need to.
Yep. We go ahead and see the draw in for the battle here. Draw out another piece, another high cost for Batsu, though, saying, okay, go ahead and hang on to that Spectral Matron yet again. A pull of that Faithful Manufacturer, another piece to start amping up for the token play, which is another surprising piece. We haven't even seen the placement. I guess the placement of pieces is a weird thing to say, but the baited hook, one of the big cost-effective, or not cost-effective, the main, hook of the deck hasn't really been necessary for Batsu just yet.
No, and again, that goes back to the momentum that SouledOut just wasn't unfortunately able to find here. Yes, I missed out on baited hook, but this was one of the best scenarios that I could. You played out a dead blue predator. Cool. Well, you're in one battlefield, I'm in the other. I'm already up by 3 points. I'll just keep inching up 1 point at a time and, try to get ahead here. Now, it is going to be a big thing if Mind Splitter are going to be able to make an impact on this, if the Dazzling Auroras are going to be able to find something out this next turn. If another Mind Splitter comes in and you discard another card from Darius's hand, is that going to start to be able to make an impact? Possibly, and then Dazzling Auroras adding something on top of that. That could be something that could make a good shift going into SouledOut's momentum, but still, this is feeling like just too little too late, especially as right now we see Batsu pulling everything back to the base to make that big final push for those final 2 points.
And we could see it happen in one fell swoop here. I mean, what are you going to pull? Yes, you have a couple of units you can stack up here. You got what looks to be 9 runes ready to go. More than enough to play as you wish. Yeah, they might not be ready right off rip, but it's more than in hand. Just checking the couple of the discards, a few that can possibly be recycled if you wish, but they're primarily just the base units here. And I mean, Batsu has so many different angles that you could go for as well, right? Like you could either stack, you could look to push, you could go for the solid, just kind of like stylish play, I like to call it, if you wish to stack up and just be like, let me just see if I can wipe out some of your other units and, make it look a little bit cleaner. Granted, with Aurora on hand, it's not great, but there it is. You go ahead and pull away with a piece and a half. Entire base is littered. You have completely stylized and prepped all of your units.
Yeah, and that's going to be the difficult part is now that I go ahead and have one battlefield protected, do I just go ahead and reinforce, go ahead and try to get both battlefields protected instead? And that's going to be the big question here. Do I play another Mind Splitter, which could very well help out, the Trifarian War Camp, and then Aurora can even reinforce on that as well. Another play that you might even potentially be able to do is have Accelerated Misfortune as the champion outside of the deck, being able to come in and use her ability. The first time I move each turn, you may ready something else that is exhausted. So you can go ahead and bring back a dead blue predator to base, play Miss Fortune accelerated, move her to the climb, and then ready the predator, and immediately be able to then go ahead and reinforce both battlefields, and Aurora can go and reinforce Trifarian War Camp at the end.
It's just a question. You can almost see Sold saying, hey, there are some other options. We get a glimpse of the bullet time signature spell coming out here as well that, you know, can sometimes be of help behind. Pay any amount to deal that much damage to all enemy units at a battlefield. Has the potential to be a menace and a half, but it's only very useful in very specific situations. Batsu's still trying to count up here. This is the other side of card games that I also love. It's the same thing that I'm a big fan of D&D. You know, math, you know, and trying to decide all the routes, but math in my card game, never. It's silly to watch.
No, and that's going to be actually a really great card potentially. It's only a 1 cost. And right now he has so many runes out to where he can go ahead and play out something and then just wipe the board, and now you have all of these units that can then, you know, just be these big mountains of units. And right now, Batsu has 0 cards in hand, and you have 2 giant units out onto the board. And so this could be a good shift, and that is a very difficult part. You're exactly right on the calculation that needs to be made for this game, because, you know, bullet time could very well come in clutch here in this situation.
When it has to be played at just the right moment. You're looking at the 9, I believe, total in terms of adjustment in there, if I'm counting that correctly. The Draven is sitting on 10 might right now, just waiting on in camp. I think there's just a huge amount of mind games, and this is almost a callback to the to round 3, right, where we're talking about stalemates. This one's just over calculation of a single move, right? There's so much on the battlefield, you really have to keep track of everything. It's not so much the holding, it's the hand has been shown. From Batsu's side, you're saying, hey, these are my hands. You see it, obviously, like, these are what I'm working with. Can you do anything about it?
Yeah, and so, I mean, again, though, this calculation is going to be very difficult. We're 20 minutes, almost 21 minutes into game number 1. It's not because of the battlefield here. It's just because, man, this is so much of a grind as well. You got to be so calculated with how you go about this. And, I mean, he has the options in hand, and I mean, the hardest part is looking over at Batsu's board and you're like, how much even is that? You know, how will I even go about defending from that? And so it's a lot to consider. Bullet time, though, is such a great card to have in this moment. But now I got to calculate it out correctly and then hope I anticipate everything correctly.
It's all about that hold and that weight. In the meantime, I do want to give a big shout out. I believe they're working on a few other pieces and just still trying to figure out, like we were talking about. I want to give a big shout out again to Riftlab, TCG, where we're here right now, and a big shout out to Jacob, who has made this awesome overlay. If you're watching out there, I just like we've had time to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. This amazing overlay that you're watching here, just seeing the entire action, and it's only going to get better from here. So if you're watching, you want to see more action across Riftbound gameplay, please go ahead, give a follow here on Twitch, follow the socials, get in on the action, maybe join in on the tournaments as well. Very, very fun. So. Yeah, this is we're seeing that expedited push as well. SouledOut now splitting up some of his heavier units, trying to play both sides of the field.
Yeah, well, and that was one thing I did forget to mention was the legend ability of Miss Fortune is really good for this. Miss Fortune's legend ability gives units ganking just like that, and so now we're going to be able to see moving into the other side. The other battlefield, I believe, is still occupied, if I remember correctly, and so now able to then activate Dazzling Auroras and reinforce the Trifarian War Camp as well, and that is a lot to be able to potentially get going here.
If this is another come from behind victory, I'm gonna be very impressed, right? Like, it would be the second time in a row where we're seeing someone just like straight up heart of the cards Yu-Gi-Oh this, which, you know, might be oops, I didn't want to say it, but like, my gosh, man, no way we see it again. All of these spells, there we go. You go ahead and pull up that that dead bloom once again, and just saying, We got it in hand. We're good. So now you are fully stacking 12 back on the bottom of that deck there, which is a little bit different situation, but full stack over there on top of Aspire's Climb.
Yeah, and then on top of that, it's like with bullet time, when they go ahead and attack in, I mean, Dazzling Aurora has already activated, so it is the end of the turn. There are 3 runes at the ready. And so if they go ahead and just send it, essentially, that could be very detrimental for Batsu, because guess what? I mean, it's so that, sack and recycle all of his runes. He could go ahead and deal 7 to everything and just clear their board, because when everything is all said, when the smoke has cleared, SouledOut is still going to have a lot of units and can immediately take back both battlefields.
Welcome to Riftbound, where we know no bounds on what you can get away with at the right time. Looking at the draw as well, Batsu pulling the Vayne, which we don't see very often. Vayne bringing about a little bit of a chance, especially on the attacking side, which I think is great. If an opponent controls a battlefield, you enter in ready, so it's an immediate 2 might extra with Assault behind if you get in on the action. And then when I conquer, you may pay 1 to return me to my owner's hand. So a little bit of a dance. It's just extra firepower behind, which I think is sorely needed in Batsu's case.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though, especially with the Dazzle, is a lot in the sense of you saw everything that was it at that point. And so here we go up to the 8th point. Is he going to push in and try to get that 9th point here?
I mean, he chose the slow burn. He chose the slow burn tactic, right? We talked about that push to either 7 to 9 or 7 to 8 to 9. You chose this route, so Batsu's like, I gotta work with what I have. I'm trying to figure out what you're counting exactly. So there are points. I wonder if there are any. What's the major count here if we were to take a look at SouledOut's board right now?
The big thing here is, do I go ahead and just send in units 1 at a time? Do I send Draven in and deal 11 damage, and I'm able to take out a Dead Blue Predator and and something else potentially? So he's doing 12. Could very well take out a Dead Blue Predator and the Misfortune. Then after that, I can go in and send in more units little by little to clear out the battlefield and secure that final point, especially when I saw during the Dazzling Aurora's activation, there was a lot of bullet times that got revealed. Could he potentially have that in hand? And so the stagnating of the attack is very smart by Batsu, because he could easily get burned by bullet time if he's not careful.
Really double checking their corners kind of thing, and I appreciate that a lot. So start 1, wait half a second, start 2, we'll see where it goes. How much do you wish to invest? And there it is. It looks like you have called it out very, very much appropriately, which is such a treat right now. Eyes out. And what is going to be removed here? There goes Misfortune, like you called. Of course, the Mind Splitter as well. Bye-bye goes the Draven. And now for the second battle. Who is going to win this war is a question in a bound.
Yeah, and the big thing is you still also have the Vayne in hand, so when everything is all said and done, you could play out the Vayne, and that is Assault +3 as well to add 5 total. And so if you did really want to do that, you have the options at least, because that is still going to be 16 that you need to deal with here. That is tough. But if you can go ahead and send like a DARIUS and a Vayne for 10, that could help. But still, this is tough to be able to see what could potentially be needing to be done to get this final battlefield.
I appreciate the, I want to say calm understanding of what's about to come as well. It's like the calm before the storm, right? It's a very calculated push. Do I want to send the storm, straight head on? Do you think I can beat it or anything like that? And you see that, right? The Batsu set it up and was like, do I actually want to do this? Is this the right call? Is this going to net me the game 1 victory? And as you called, there are going to be I feel so many adjustments come game number 2. I believe both these squads have both these players do have a small situated sideboard if they wish to get a little bit messy with it with some adjustments as well. So, call down what you wish. And I feel like SouledOut is getting so much out of this Aspire's Climb, right? Like we mentioned it before, the fact that you are pushing to 9 and it takes a little bit more to get. You're gaining so much traction with this battlefield.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and this is going to be the difficult part too, because if Batsu decides, you know what, I can't get this battlefield, you need to now go and try to take the other battlefield, and he just stacks it all up. Well, then you still have bullet time that can still be utilized and target a
Yep.
battlefield. And so it looks like we are going to get some action going on as we have 8 that is going to be coming in. So that will be enough to take out another Dead Blue Predator here. And is there going to be a reaction from SouledOut? Oh, another back away.
Oh yeah. That was a about to the starting line and said no. I don't want to force it or anything like that.
It's like most of the women I'm trying to date, they just can't commit. It's like, come on, man. No. But no, it's a tough it's a tough situation here, you know, because if you make this mistake, it can really change the entire thing. This game 1 is going to be such a big, you know, it's such a big momentum shift. If you have that little bit more coming in, it's tough. It is tough. You got to be so calculated here.
I mean, what's going through the mind? There it is. Finally, a move has been made. As you called, one of the Dead Bloom is gone. You're resting on an 8, and then a coverage on one of the other battlefields. And I can appreciate the fact that Batsu is kind of leaving the ball in SouledOut's court right now. Like, where do you apply that damage, and do you have enough in your hand to deal with this? I actually really like this call. You go ahead and prep up the battlefield as well. Another stack of a soldier plus a back end as well with the special matron. This is all right. Finally SouledOut. SouledOut's like, all right, let's do this. Bullet time is used. How much are you expending? I believe that's majority share.
Yeah, I mean, you would almost have to. I mean, dealing you would want to deal it to where there was just literally nothing left in, but it looks like also that 1 might just be enough to go ahead and clear the board with keeping Dead Blue Predator still alive here, which is going to be a very big difference maker. Now, of course, again, there is still the vein in hand.
Yep.
And that would be 8 to still now take out the Dead Blue Predator. And here comes the vein.
That draw at the end, draw for draw, you fished out the bullet time. That was... It feels like that last line of defense. You can almost feel the breath that Batsu gave and was like, oh, perfect. I saw that card. And the vein comes in clutch, and that's victory. Batsu played it so well.
And what a climb that was. And now, man, great job on Batsu being able to get that. Look at these side decks, though. This is going to be interesting. Batsu, obviously, putting in Sabotage, such a great card. You see it, you have 2 at your hand right here. You're going to be able to go ahead and destroy a gear and then draw a card. Not only that, but you also have the Leonas over here as well, which can go ahead and stun a unit, meaning that they deal no damage. And so that could be some pretty big differences made here for sighting in. And is he going to go ahead and use it? But also on SouledOut side, what do you think he might be sighting in here?
So the question comes down is like, was it really an issue of not having the right cards? Because I almost look at it and we go back to the fact that there was the Aurora, right? You talk about that Aurora to come down, and was it just a hand of the top card? And I personally think it was. I don't think you need any of these. I mean, Sabotage, obviously, and the challenges, they can bring a lot. It allows that easy access to some early might in there, and the Gentleman's Duel as well, but that one's a little bit more high cost. I hate saying it, but I personally wouldn't change anything out. Like, roll the dice again, gamble, see if you can hit it earlier this time.
Yeah, I would say probably, if anything, I would add the Sabotage into hand, mainly due to the fact of if they are running the gear destruction here, I don't want him to have salvage and take out Aurora, because if I'm paying 9 and recycling 2, that's gonna put me very far behind if I'm not able to at least have it go off even once. And so potentially even knowing what my opponent has in hand with salvage or with Sabotage, is a very big piece of information to have as well.
Always a piece in there. So I mean, this is also my playstyle in general, is I love to gamble on pieces of that one. Taking a look at Batsu once again, that vein that came out very, very clutch, sitting down there, the only one in the deck and the only one that you need. surprising factor in there. But if you wish, we did mention that salvage, if they wish to run it like you were talking about. But I'm interested. We still haven't seen that baited hook, not necessary, not even drawn at this point either. I wonder if it's going to come out, especially with some of the battlefields that we'll have next, right? We talked about Trifarian Warcamper being used. The Arena's Greatest is available to kindle its Sanctum, and considering the strength of battlefields that actually drew that game out so far, I wonder if coming into this game number 2, the battlefields will have a higher impact than we normally see.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing here is if he's able to find the gear, if he doesn't necessarily have to worry about the climb extending the game, well, cool. And I mean, even on top of that, now that Batsu has the ability, I mean, there's that battlefield down at the very bottom of the board right here. And what this specifically does is you start with 1 extra point, each player. And so it's like, uh-oh, now you want to extend the game? Well, guess what? Now I want to shorten the game. And that could be a very big difference maker as we go into this next game.
Yeah, and then you look on the flip side, obviously Aspirant's Climb is already gone, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe we are, once a battlefield has been played, right, you can't play it again. So we're looking at Sigil of the Storm and Obelisk Power, both of these very amp up heavy that I feel like you kind of wish you drew last time. But Sigil of the Storm, I think we've seen it floating around in some decks. We haven't seen it fully played. It's when you conquer, recycle 1 of your runes. Then Obelisk Power, I think, played back in round 1. Start of player's turn, first beginning phase. That player channels 1 rune. So amp up on either end. At this point, it feels like the next game is going to be an accelerated pace in one form or another way, which makes me very, very excited for this game number 2.
Yeah, and so time will tell. Competitors are still sighting out, and we'll see how it's going to be going. But, man, Darius was able to calculate things correctly, was able to play the cards out as they fell, and was able to find some things. Now, will we be able to then go ahead and get this going? I mean, challenge might even be something I would want to put in as well. Now, of course, that is going to be recycling 1. But if you see something very dangerous that you might not want to be baited or used by baited hook, you might just want to challenge into it because it can go ahead and target those cards that are in your opponent's base here. And so that can be a very big difference maker as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of options here. And again, you got to be so careful about how you go about this decision making here. The momentum is on Batsu's side. He has taken game number 1 and sold out now. He needs to go ahead and try to get back into this game sooner rather than later.
By far our longest series, but one of the most exciting. We've had amazing and awesome, exciting matches throughout the entirety of the night. And again, this is only 1 of 3 of the Riftlab clashes that we've had so far. If you're interested in watching all the action across the entire set of the clashes, and also what might be a lead up towards the future tournaments, please go ahead and check out the YouTube, catch up on all the VODs, maybe find a little bit more. You can go ahead and find it on YouTube. I believe it is just Riftlab out there. Check out all the VODs, check out all the action that has been played before, and maybe start prepping yourself to go ahead and join on in. Keep in mind, we've only seen a grand total of, what, 8 players here on the day? There were 80 players and more to sign up here for the Clash 3 across, what, pods of 16. An amazing time if you wish to go ahead and sign up and maybe join in, gain some experience just as well.
Yeah, and exactly right. There isn't necessarily a whole lot to lose here. We're here to play for fun. We're here playing a game also that's not even out in English yet, and so it's like, come out,
True.
And we also have great communities as well that are here to help you learn how to play on Tabletop Simulator. They're very patient on telling you what the hotkeys are. The learning curve for even learning this game is already there. Not only that, learning how to play on Tabletop Simulator can be a lot as well. But we have just such a great community here to help you learn how to play this game. So don't be afraid to go ahead and dive right in. We would love to have you guys at these clashes.
Not only that, you can also play outside of the meta. We talked about this. We're seeing so many fun decks being built. The meta constantly evolving. I mean, this is the first time we're seeing a Misfortune deck make it, and especially into the top echelons, aiming for a 4-0 on the day. There's so much to explore, learn, and just find out. Overall, I mean, we're talking about the game itself. There's Ari, there's Annie, there's Darius that we've seen here on the day. There's also Garens, there's Jinxes, there's Lee Sins. Obviously, these may be a little bit harder to pull off, but feel free to check it out. Play for fun. You don't always have to play for the excess action at the end of the day. We have gotten word that there is a player that is currently getting everything set up, as we mentioned earlier. So right, by the way, Silent Knight. You know, we're playing on the tabletop simulator, and so, you know, there are some hiccups along the way, but we're very glad that it is very easy to get back on track if we so wish.
Yeah, and that's just the cool part, being able to play this game, because no one's playing this in person, at least around the world outside of China here. And so being able to be a part of that, and I mean, I want to go back to a lot of what you were talking about with the current meta. We have a lot to still be discovered. We saw Annie taking down a Kaisa, and it's like, well, if you're looking at the regionals and seeing, hey, by the way, Kaisa and Master Yi literally had 153 and 138 decks respectively in China. And then day 2, they had a 22% and even a 10% conversion on making day 2. That's some scary numbers, but it's like, hey, if I'm now looking at DARIUS and I'm seeing, this is what DARIUS could do. Ooh, I saw what Annie could do. Yes, it's a little bit more complicated to run this deck, but maybe I need to start challenging this meta a little bit more as well, because it's like, you know, Miss Fortune, day 1 had 23 decks in the last regionals for China as well, only had 3 that managed to make day 2. And so, I mean, that's a 13% conversion rate, which is still pretty good, but it's like, man, especially if Dazzling Aurora is a part of this, it could be that little bit to tip the scale into making more appearances in this meta.
So, with that being said, I do want to posit a question to you, because I think it's a very fun thought to have. We've seen other TCGs go by, and a lot of those have multi-deck competitions, right? Where players are bringing, you know, 3 decks in, sometimes even more so, depending on the tournament style. Do you feel, when it comes to Riftbound, that a deck-building style of, you know, 3 decks in and a BO3, do you think that would be an option, or do you actually prefer this meta of, or this style of competition where it's 1 deck, you change out what you can, and you pray you get a good matchup along the way?
Well, and I think especially with this being such a brand new game, the 1 deck format is definitely preferred. And I mean, you're already seeing how people are maybe considering doing different kinds of things. You see League of Legends has like the 5v5 and things like that. And so we'll see what happens, but we'll talk about that differently now that we are going into game number 2 here.
Hey, let's go. Getting in on the mix, and we mentioned before, the decks are the same, but we get to see exactly where adjustments have been made. We'll get to see what the battlefields are as well. It played such a pivotal role in allowing SouledOut to even look like that was a very close battle, one that was that pushed it for another, I want to say, 5 or 10 minutes. What are they going to be? Again, I was also mentioning this. Very unique. Both decks drawing completely unique battlefields, so we're not going to get the double up. We're not going to see this. Well, it doesn't matter what battlefield you choose. It's the exact same situation to occur on either. It is going to be Obelisk of Power on 1, and it looks like a push a little different. That is going to be the Zon to come out as well.
Yeah, and so that's going to be the big thing here. And again, that is a whole different strategy that you have to worry about when playing Riftbound. If you even time your battlefields wrong, where it would have been better for you to play, you know, a certain battlefield in game 1 going against, you know, the Kaisa in this case. And it's like, nope, I made that mistake. And that could be enough to cost you the game. And so right now, though, we see Obelisk of Power coming out. So each opponent is going to be, or each player is going to be starting with an additional rune at the start of your turn. And then after that, that's it. The battlefield does nothing more for the rest of the game.
Instead, it's just a spot to spill blood. It's all we're going to say there. It is a spot to let the blood flow, the battles be drawn, and war to be considered. Taking a look at some of these draws as well. 4 cards stacked up here. For Batsu, we're looking at the Kaisa, which we haven't seen utilized just yet by Batsu's side. A little bit of a touch at the very end, but the stratagem's still in hand. We go ahead and take a look at a little extra piece in there, right? You're seeing the Spectral Matron. All of these relatively powerful in the early stages. But for SouledOut, this one specifically, we saw got off to a shaky start. We want to see an exceptional start for SouledOut for this game too.
Well, and also you got to keep in mind that the Obelisk goes both ways. You know, DARIUS is going to be able to start with 5 at this point. Not only is he going to get the one that is, 4 at the first point, and that can be a very big difference maker. So he can literally just go ahead and play out Kaisa, not readied in this point, and then say, all right, well, next turn I could potentially already start to take battlefields as well.
Fun to look at. Vanguard Captain as well, if you want to start stacking a few tokens, get a good defense going. The stall out as stall out there if you wish. I'm also kind of curious. I know we talked about this sold out, not playing the Misfortune until much later in this. It would be curious and starting off with a great board clear as well, plus draw in hand the horns. If you wish to call for a few more options to cycle through, this is a little bit of a cheeky one for sold out. I think this is a much more, I don't want to say manageable hand because you don't really have any units to play outside of Misfortune, but you can draw quite a bit. You can look for the right card in your hand.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big part of that, but still not having a single unit in hand for Misfortune. You're at least going to get a little bit of ramp, but you also don't even necessarily have any Auroras either. And I mean, we saw when the Aurora was out from Misfortune, there was a lot of utility, but not a lot of units. And so anything that they're wanting to play, it's kind of like, the Volibear Auroras, where there was a lot of people who were playing anything that was mighty. And so if you hit something with the Auroras, it was going to be 5 might or higher. And, you're almost seeing the same thing with this Misfortune deck. And so if you don't have those units in hand, how far are you going to have to dig to even just find one unit here?
Oh, they dug pretty far before. We've seen them dig pretty dang hard for just about anything. They're going to cycle to Scrap Heap. Makes sense. Go ahead. Force a piece and gather a few more cards in here. Double stratagem. Batsu just swinging for the fences there. Listen, we got really good backup in there if we wish, but there's the Kai'Sa that we talked about. Quick little start. We know how strong Kai'Sa can be, even as maybe not the mainstay spotlight champion to work with.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing, though, is Kai'Sa being able not only to come in accelerated, that's awesome, don't get me wrong, but when you conquer, being able to go ahead and take and draw a card from conquering a battlefield, ooh, that is where the magic can happen, because having those cards in hand can give you so many additional options for you to go ahead and use.
Pace is slow. Starting off, a Mind Splitter in hand, but there's the one that you called. There it is, perfectly in line. You mentioned it before for Sold Out. That scavenge, I think it's scavenge in the bottom area. My brain is kind of lost on there, but they're going ahead and making sure that, hey, sabotage. Ha! I can read. I can totally read. I promise. The sabotage being brought in from the side deck, now amped up for Sold Out, may or may not be the game changer. Another role though, you start having those runes in pocket, double horns in. And that's why we're wondering a little bit of an adjustment right there. Real quick. You get to see the behind the scenes for like half a second.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing here. Sold Out is unfortunately running into a lot of lag right now and not able to play the game in Tabletop Simulator as efficiently as he would like. And so trying to go ahead and get back into the game, it looks like things are moving again. So I do apologize for the game being a little bit slower than normal. But again, this does come with playing online in this case. He has disconnected the webcam, anything to help get things going. But just like that, it looks like we unfortunately have experienced a little bit of a crash. We'll try to get back to the game as soon as we can.
Yeah, but let's go back to it. You mentioned before, I talked about the fact that I really wanted to see Sold Out just kind of stay steady with the deck that they have, but we did see the sabotage in there. And now the question is, did you actually drop a challenge in there as well? Like, what else did you swap out? So, is it more beneficial to just have the sabotages in there as its own reflect, or are you actually moving in challenge as well? Are you doubling up on the safety value?
No, I really do think that's the hard part, but I do think, the sabotage is going to be enough in this case. I can see the challenge definitely playing a factor here, but that's going to be on the cusp that they actually do have baited hook in hand, because you do want to take out those dangers, but still, sabotage could be enough to just go ahead and get out those dangerous actions and gears potentially before they're able to hit the board.
Okay, I can adjust with that one. So, hey, listen, only play one, only one safety. It's not like you're sitting 0-1 in a BO3. No worries about that. You don't have to worry about that at all. Sold Out as, plenty of time to work. And I'm kind of sitting here. I am curious. There was slight movement so far. We saw the double horns come out, making sure to try and draw a couple extra cards. I believe we are going to reset as we are in a little bit of a pause. I believe we'll set up almost exactly where we were before that came through. So a little bit of technical issues. With that being said, I am very curious what the cards were drawn. What did Sold Out pull? And what is Batsu going to have to contend with on the back end? It's a very curious situation to have, that there's so much RNG at the tail end that SouledOut's like, I could either play a really cool next turn, or I'm stuck with just a lot of high costs I'm not going to be able to utilize as efficiently as I wish.
Yeah, and that's the hard part here about this. But yeah, this is what happens, and luckily so far we've done a really good job at not running into too many technical difficulties, especially using even an outsourced game essentially where they modded it to be able to play this. I mean, that's awesome to be able to see. And so yeah, unfortunately we are going to be waiting just a tiny bit longer, but then we should have some really exciting games. I've been loving the meta, though, that we've been seeing so far, especially as there's not necessarily a whole lot at stake with these clashes. You're just trying to qualify to be a part of a tournament at the end of this season. And with that, you're able to see a lot of people bringing a lot different meta. We've seen Aries in these clashes, just like you said. Right now, even with Misfortune coming in as well, and just a lot of really fun things to test and see, well, if I am playing Annie, how am I going to do against a Kaisa? And you're able to get those answers and be casted at the same time. There's nothing much better than that.
So my question now comes to you as my voice decides to take a crack at it one more time. You also said that you play this obviously a lot. I believe you said you've entered in some of these, or at least played in, in some of your own local circles. What deck do you prefer in any of your matches? Because I know you said in the green room that you played a lot of different ones. You like to learn a bit more. Is there one that you prefer over all others in there?
Yeah, so I've played, I went on a lot on Master Yi was probably the first one that I really got to know. Then I went over to Kaisa. But I think the two that I've been focusing on a lot more lately has been Darius and Ahri. I just really love the Ahri ability, being able to go ahead and -2 when you attack in or defend with Ahri as a champion ability. And then her legend ability, even just being able to -1, that can create a really big wall for your opponent to come over, because might is everything here. And if you can go ahead and minus some might from your opponents, it can be that much harder for them to take battlefields. And then, I mean, just the counters and the maneuverability that Ahri has as a whole as well. It's just so fun to be able to play.
Oh, you're the type of player that I'm just sitting there like, bro, I just want to see the player in front of me. I don't want to see all my units dashing around 15 different times. Like, bro, come on, help me out. We're back right in, though, as we are set for the beginning once again. We got the Zon Warrens and the Obelisk of Power to start out. It looks like, at least, well, we'll see if this changes, but I do believe players may have had a gentleman's agreement, just kind of hard start since we didn't get too far into game number 2. Go ahead, restart, get ready, make it a fresh match. Don't worry about the early moves.
Yeah, and so we'll see what's going to be happening with that. Now, of course, they probably did incorporate a judge in this situation to see, hey, this is where we're struggling. What are we going to be able to do here? And they'll have a resolution come from that if need be in this case. But yeah, we could very well be having just a fresh start. It's so much easier to do so instead of needing to search each card that you had at the start last time. And let's see, though.
I think we're actually back to net zero. I think that's also another part of this is like we can go back to exactly right before. It's just we got to make sure to set up the scrap pile, right? We got to make sure the trash has the right cards in there. But on the other side, am I crazy? Did we also see a full swap out in the sideboard? So we actually did get to see Salvage and Cold a Week actually tossed into the books as well for Batsu.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing. I do love Call of the Week in the sense of, hey, you can only play 1 or 2 big units a turn if you're lucky at that point. And it's like, well, if that's the case, cool, kill one of them. I'll go ahead and just sacrifice one of my 1 might unit. Not a big deal, but you have to sacrifice your Dead Bloom. Oh, okay, cool. Well, that's a huge hit for you.
Yeah, it's a destructive one to have that held over in the early stages. Yeah, you might sack a lot of that board building, a lot of that base building that we saw earlier. Keep in mind, Batsu, I think by turn 3 or 4, they had a majority share of the battlefields actually covered. They were able to really hang on. They were able to start stacking up, gain those points. That's why we saw a fast push into the 4-5 region, and why it felt so crazy in the early stance that we thought Batsu was going to run over the game within the early minutes, right? Taking a look now, though, SouledOut, going ahead, cycling yet again. We saw the trumpets earlier, but now stacked deck behind it. So really making sure now that you've rolled to get a specific card at least to start your turn off right.
So yeah, we'll see how this is going to be going. But right now, not a lot of units in hand for Batsu in this case. And you see the ramp that is going to be had on Sold Outside as well, and then the Dead Blue Predator also being added to the factor as well, so that's going to be a pretty big difference maker as well. You have the unit, now you just got to get up to that might, and I mean, at this point, Batsu, he needs to find that unit. He has Darius as a champion outside of his deck that he can utilize, but after that, what else can you really do?
Oh, and another roll of the spell side instead. We were just talking about units. Hidden Blade is nice, but, here's the deal. As much as Hidden Blade is nice, if you play that or have anything like that, because you do need it in a showdown sense, or you need it on your turn, you're still giving 2 cards right back over. And considering both players have actually, well, maybe for Batsu's side, very thankfully, not played any major units, it's such a twist. But there it is. As we talked about, the Darius is ready to go. Go ahead and tap out, discard 2 total runes, and pressure onto the Zon Warrens. Now we get started with the Darius. You go ahead and play, and if it's a second card, you amp up for this turn. Make sure you get a pretty nice might stack in there.
Yeah, and so, but again, it's like, and sometimes when you go ahead and use Darius, which can be very helpful on getting points, if you go ahead and hide the card inside, or, hide the card in the battlefield, and then you just go ahead and use a Hidden Blade in that case, you could just use it on the Darius and try to get just even more units, into your hand. You can target your own, champion in this case to try to get more, but there at least is a Poro in hand. That's going to be helpful on trying to get things moving again.
Yep, this is actually the setup that we saw before. Namely, though, for Sold, I'd love to point out that the Catalyst, we saw it early, we talked about it, it came so late in the game where we're like, dang, that hurts. This time pulled it, I think turn 2, turn 3, perfect setup. Go ahead and ramp up. That'll place you at about 8 to 9 runes to stack. Now you just gotta find the Aurora. That's the other card that you're missing here. As we get to see the swap up, Batsu streamlines up to 3. It's 3-0, Sold Out, still waiting for that perfect time to start throwing down the units.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing here too. And the nice part is you saw what the Darius was able to do. It comes in ready at the start of the turn, goes back to base, gets exerted at that point, and then can immediately, after you play 2 cards, go right back into the other and gain 2 points at the start of this turn. And that is how fast Darius can move. And he needs to at this point. But now with the Poro in hand, potentially he can start trying to get some stuff going. But we see the dazzling Auroras, but on the flip side, we see the salvage as well. So the answer is there, but that still might be enough to go ahead and get the dazzling Auroras out. And then we'll see what happens there.
The answers are abound, and even Sold Out kind of knows it, right? I love the fact you pointed out. It actually slipped my mind. I was sitting there like, yeah, we got the dazzling Aurora, and you can even see the players. I love that Batsu was like, I think you're supposed to have 9. I think you're supposed to have 9. There's the baited hook, though. What we were hoping for the entirety of game 1 lands perfectly into Batsu's hand. You got 6 to be able to play. You only need 3. And you have a few extra small units to be able to work your magic on.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there is still going to be some really good answers here. If you go ahead and decide to maybe hide a Hidden Blade in this case, again, too, Call of the Week is going to be very powerful. You can go ahead and maybe even send in the Poro to take a battlefield and then take out the Dazzling Aurora and then just Call of the Week whatever it spawns in. And it's like, cool, well, in that case, yes, neither of us necessarily have units out, but I just took out one of the biggest issues, one of the biggest threats of this game at this point, so I think I can handle that just fine.
100%. There it goes, though. Quick swap out of those runes. Make sure to amp up and to swap back every rune available for usage. Not exhausted just yet. Call is big. Now, where does Batsu go? We mentioned before that the units that they have on hand currently just 1 and 2. Gear is out on the table as well. The Seal of Unity, able to be added up and start stacking if you wish to play. But of course, for Sold Out, also drawing that treasure, being able to play a little bit with that treasure in hand. If you can get a good mark off, that will be a treat to watch as well if you wish to pull the right cards. There it is, though. It is going to be the Dazzling Aurora, called down, saying hello. Let's go ahead and try and get those rerolls in, or an answer right back with that salvage next run here. But let's go ahead and see how many cards it takes before Sold Out is able to find something to place on board. Their first unit, by the way, 7 minutes in.
And that's going to be the big thing here, though, too. It's like, this could be the only thing. And so it's like, are you going to be hitting something that is worth 9 Recycle 2 at this point? But it looks like not even going to get a chance. Salvage can come down. at this point.
Oh?
Maybe? No, it can't though. It's an action, not a reaction, so it can be played on your turn or in showdowns. So in this case, it won't be able to stop the Dazzling Auroras from being played. If it was a reaction, it would be able to. But here we go with the Mind Splitter.
Yep.
That could have been the number one thing that you needed to find in this case, because now he can target the salvage and say, guess what? You're out of here.
Yep. Not only that, the fact that you didn't recycle as many as before. I remember when we watched this before, you cycled through what, it was like 7. And you mentioned something to me all the way at the beginning of this tournament when we were talking in the green room. There's no shuffling, right? Once you watch a lot of those cards hit the bottom of the deck, that is more knowledge for your opponent to know, hey, I don't have to deal with those cards anymore. I don't have to deal with that spell slinging that could come out in my face. Now, granted, it's not so much removal tactics, but to watch that go down, it feels good for SouledOut. You know what cards are coming next, and you still have some options in there to play.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's going to be the biggest thing, too. And now, with that as well, SouledOut has the knowledge of what's in your opponent's hand. And it's like, okay, well, there was a lot of removal there. There was, 2 different options at this point. It's like, that can remove some very dangerous things. And so it's like, well, what do I go ahead and do? And it's like, also, do I go ahead and try to use a call of the week to take out the Mind Splitter, knowing that there is going to be an option potentially on attacking it again? And it's like, this is so difficult to try to go ahead and calculate knowing what your opponent has. But the baited hook is coming out, and that might be able to start getting things moving.
And we can also take a look. I mean, the baited hook is even going to hook us as we get to kind of guess exactly what's going down. I think we've gotten some words that we're gonna be as surprised about the cards coming out as you are, all the viewers at home. So I'm very, very excited to see what plays. But unlike game number 1, we are having pivot point versus pivot point, and I think that's very important to note as well. The fact that both decks have now cleared their power point, or the start of the spike, at least that momentum base that we were talking about. But Batsu's also sitting with a 4-0 lead. We cannot discredit that. Remember, there's no Aspirant's Climb, so it's only to 8. Batsu is already halfway to that region, and they're going to be pretty dang happy about that factor.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing, is the Poro can go ahead and, potentially go ahead and try to maybe take a point as well, and then just immediately be recycled and baited hook activated. So exactly what's going to happen, go up to 5 points with that. Darius has already scored on the other battlefield at the start of the upkeep, so will not be able to do that. And it looks like, actually, instead of using baited hook, you're going to just go ahead and potentially maybe use, or no, you have to discard one. Sorry. You do have to discard one with the battlefield. So the Hidden Blade is going to be used, and then the baited hook is going to take out the Poro, and you can find something 3 or more might to go ahead and play it out onto the battlefield.
Well, let's see what they pull. We get a card. A little bit twist, and it's going to be Draven.
That's one to find at this point. Now,
so
something to consider here is Draven is able to be selected by baited hook because my might is increased by your points, but that does not occur until it hits the battlefield. So the Poro is able to find Draven, and Draven is immediately able to go ahead and swing in with 5 more might.
That is such a moment of like, dang, bro. Now, I'm not saying that's the end, but it's such a good draw, and it feels so good that now you have an 8 might challenge in case we get to see a one unit battlefield hold from SouledOut. We're talking about the Mind Splitter. Obviously, that 7's there, but if you roll in to that to the Dead Gloom that we talked about, we could see that happen as well. We could see those mix-ups be challenged, and we could see that build up of what are we looking at? Maybe like if I'm counting correctly, it's like a 15. If we get the Dead Gloom in there, so it's available. But just having that extra 8 behind, I swear, has to bring some relief to Batsu, who knows the amp up is coming, knows there's some danger ahead, and still has at least some form of response. So you're not waiting a turn or two before you can bait it out some more, because there's a second bait on the there's 2 hooks in the water right now to play with.
Yeah, and that's going to be the crazy part, because even if you just find one that you might be able to go ahead and use with the baited hook, you might even just go ahead and play like your one of your 3 might units from your hand if you happen to draw it at this upkeep kind of thing, and then just immediately sack it to try to get additional, better, more powerful answers out onto the board. And so, Mind Splitter is out onto the battlefield. This is a great thing, but it's like, what are you going to be able to do right now, SouledOut? How are you going to be able to get back into this game? You were able to take out the salvage, which, saved your Dazzling Auroras. And this is where the back and forth is going to be going, because yes, Draven has 8. That is awesome. But man, if you have to go ahead, and we saw some 10 might units be in SouledOut's deck as well. And it's like, trying to get over 10 can be very difficult for any deck in general, let alone a Darius.
And I love the fact that you bring it up. The back and forth is coming. I appreciate that so much, because it really is. And it's going to be that brawl of just might in hand. I do love the setup, though. We saw the stacked deck once again be tossed to the wayside, trying to grab a couple cards for the hand. But I appreciate it. It is going to be a little bit of a bloody brawl, and who decides, how long that brawl goes along. There's that misfortune we were talking about coming out much earlier into this game than in game number 1, maybe feeling a little bit threatened. And I wonder if there is already a twist, as there is a dead coming on out free of charge, stacking up to 15. There is your bread and butter setup with 15 over there on the Warrens.
And this might be the start of the comeback in this case, too. And we see Misfortune coming in as well. And now with that, again, Misfortune's legend ability is going to be really good as well, because Misfortune can go ahead and move to a battlefield, ready up something, and then immediately also add ganking with the legend ability as well. So you can go anywhere on the board and be able to deal with the threats that are about to come. And so, taking a look at Batsu, it's like, okay, I'm up by 4. How can I start dealing with this? Because I can start getting behind fast now. We already see, so much might on one battlefield. And if I go over to the other, what do I do about that? Now it's like, you could just go ahead and send maybe one over real quick and then sacrifice it in this case. But, with baited hook and try to continue to build your board state, and that would make it 6-1, but still, is that going to be enough?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't think so. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it will. Only because SouledOut is like, they are primed and they are ready to go. Very comfortable in the knowledge that next turn, they're also gonna roll down most likely. They're gonna cycle through, find another unit. You know which is in hand right now with the Misfortune behind. As you call the proper adjustments from battlefield to battlefield, Batsu needs to hit some big stuff. And again, we can't see the hands right now. We don't know what's in hand. Maybe there's a vein. Maybe there's a couple. I know we saw the stratagems from before that can give a current boost in the might value. But I feel like a big answer has to come now. You have the Draven on the board. You have the Darius. You wish you could baited hook right now, but I don't know if that investment is going to be enough to deal with the extra. But they have gone ahead and used that Vanguard Captain, which when played, play an extra 1 might recruit token on top. So hey, it's a piece of that puzzle to play with. And there goes a cycle, though. It's all about that draw, and it's only 1 so far. You've only expended 1, meaning you draw 5. And what do we turn over? It's another Vanguard Captain. Hey, there we go.
And that's something really great here, because now the Grand Stratagem could be a very big factor here, because now each unit gets +5 in this case, which could be enough to go ahead and steamroll them. So it's like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and potentially rebuild both battlefields. Now, if I have a Mind Splitter in hand, that Grand Stratagem can go right to the bottom in this case, but we'll see what ends up happening.
I think the downside, though, is I don't think you have enough to... I don't know if you have enough to activate. Am I reading that correctly? Because it's 6 + 3 recycled.
Yeah, so won't be able to necessarily activate this turn,
okay,
but on
so
the following turn you would be able to. Yes.
Okay.
And, I mean, but we do have 2 of the seals that could be used to keep that, but I mean, they're also tapped in this case.
Yeah, okay, I want to make sure... Okay, this is why I'm mad about this deck. There's so much on the screen for me to read, man. I'm like, let me make sure I got this right. And there's a sacrifice at the end of the day, but man, is that a lot of reading.
Yeah, well, imagine if you had that one card player that had no organizational skills and just plopped everything out as a Darius player, and you're like, dude, you need to organize your board a little bit more than that. You know, on accident, be like, oh, by the way, there was a Draven under this 1 might unit. Let me actually react with this, and you know, and it's like, oh no.
How do you mechanical arm a TTS board? Is that what it is? You mechanical arm an extra card underneath? Oh, I got a full house. I don't know how the ace got in there.
Yeah, at this point, there are table flips in Tabletop Simulator.
Oh my gosh, no, don't remind us. Oh boy. But there's the call of the week. You were talking about it earlier. Sacrifice a one might unit, send off the poor Mind Splitter, and maybe do it again? Okay, there you go. You sack out on the Draven. But that leaves the Darius open. Batsu's found an answer.
Yeah, and again, that's going to be going up to 6, so if he does end up having the grand stratagem in hand, that's going to be what's needed to then get those final 2 points, even if the Misfortune is able to go ahead and take a battlefield and potentially add something else to the other battlefield to maybe take it back. But still, oh man, this is the answers that you're wanting to see in this case. Now, with that being said, Misfortune can go ahead and take the free battlefield at this point after a unit has been played, and the unit play will then be readied and be able to go ahead and challenge Darius. So you got to be a little bit careful about how that can maybe go about. There is a chance that both battlefields could be taken here.
If it's a double battlefield take, it's huge. Right now we are cycling. The baited hook has drawn once again. What is rolled? It's a nice one. A little bit extra, not as high as you wish. I think 4 might piece. And that was actually, oh, was that actually a double roll of the baited hook? So that was actually... Was that a 10 roll and that's what you got? Wow, okay, so that was a full expenditure in there. Okay, Nox is hopeful, yeah.
Yeah, that's still going to be, again, more might the better in this case. And it's like,
yeah.
Might as well go ahead and try to get things going. And it's like, I can get that big finish here. I mean, and you see that there's going to be a couple of units out. I might be able to go ahead and get those final 2 points needed, even go into 7. And then sacking that unit to try to get more out on the field for that final attack could be a big difference maker as well. So there's a couple of ways that Batsu could go about winning this game. So time will tell to see how SouledOut responds to this board state and if he's able to come back from a 5-point deficit.
Well, there it is. That 10 might that you were calling out earlier. The 10 might that is just painful to deal with is a double battlefield take, and it is that Mountain Drake. We know it, we love. We saw the 9 being tapped, so it's like we knew it was coming. But Batsu's like, I got an answer. I got the stratagem, and if you wish to push here, you can grab at least one of these battlefields. I'm so curious, but there is a sabotage to be rolled out here, and then the draw of the Mind Splitter yet again. Are you kidding me? Good pulls by SouledOut here.
And that's going to be the big thing, being able to not only see what's in your opponent's hand, but being able to reinforce another battlefield. And this can be a very difficult thing. Baited hook going to the discard. There's only one other card now in hand for Darius here. So Batsu needs that top deck draw here to try to get back into this game. And if he is able to find that card, that could be the difference maker here. But still, look at this might at these battlefields. I mean, gosh. Going 12 to 10 on both respectively.
And I mean, at this point, are you actually aiming for just a 1-1 draw until you reach 2? Because remember, it's only to 8. Would you prefer to actively chase just 1 and just deal with the Misfortune ganking on the side? Like, what is the draw? You go ahead and draw that made him behind, which is nice. And then you get an extra behind with a couple extra tokens. Is Batsu going to go for a 1 on battlefield, or a 1-1 battlefield situation, or are they looking for a board clear?
Well, I think more so they have time on their side here, but not necessarily with being able to reinforce, but there's still a 3-point deficit. It's going to be 6 to 5 if he is unable to take both of these. That's still some time with that. And so digging right now was able to get some good answers with this and potentially trying to find another answer with the other baited hook here in this case. And trying to get something going here. But man, this is going to be a difficult situation for Batsu because those high might units can be so difficult to try to get over. And I mean, Draven at this point?
Yeah. Okay, another matron in hand. I mean, you are stacking with those tokens. You got the tokens on board. Feels good. You got 4 in bank. Is it 5 total? Okay, you got 5. If you have a stratagem, you can bank on a huge slaughter. You can punch out so... Actually, how much is that? So that's 5 if you multiply additional...
Yep,
well, I don't know stratagems in hand. I wish I
point.
knew, like, just for sure if there was stratagem.
Well, we saw the mind splitter that looked at both looked at the hand
Yeah,
of
already
the two
covered.
cards, and there was not one in hand, and so that
Mhm.
is the risk here, and so he's gonna have to top deck it for the win.
Yeah. Dang. After all that, it hurts to see that, but yeah. Man, I'm talking on my butt here, and looking on the other side, obviously. There it is, that 6-5 that you were talking about. We're seeing Sold Out come back in a spectacular fashion. There is a Dead
Oh
Bloom.
my gosh.
Go ahead and set it up, and all of a sudden, you go from a 10-12 to an 18-12, and now both sides are so rough. Make it even higher. 19 and 18. Now you only get one chance.
I mean, this is going to be the big play right here. Did he top deck the grand stratagem? And that's going to be the hard part too, because if you do the baited hook, he very well, while baiting and hooking, or baited hook his units here, he could very well have put already the 3 grand stratagems at the bottom of his deck. And he knows that. So he might already know, because we didn't see what those 5 cards were. That's not public knowledge here, even for us as viewers here. And that's the thing. It could already be at the bottom.
I never thought about it. I'm so used to only one baited hook, right? You only have one. It's only 5, so maybe a little bit less pressure. But 10, if you are tapping 100%, you cycled already, maybe twice even. That is a painful one. Yeah, you're going to cycle once again. What are you hoping to draw here? Sacrificing that that Legion piece to hand? What are you going for? What did you draw? Is it anything good? Eyes out. What did you get? It's a Draven! It's nice to have, but it might not be enough. I don't know if this is going to be enough to overcome.
That's the problem is, yeah, it feels good to have a Draven, but that's almost one turn too late. There's 18 on one side. There's a lot more on the other. It's a Friday. I don't know if I want to do math. But with that being said, it's
you almost wish you had a Vine here. That's what you wish you had, right? 13 in the recycle pile, if you wish.
So we'll see how this ends up going. But right now, this is the lockdown that Misfortune has been wanting to have. And to be able to do so is absolutely insane. And I mean, right now we're 25 minutes into this game. And that was some technical difficulty, sure. But I mean, you're still seeing at this standoff between these two players trying to figure out how to go about this and how to properly defend. I mean, the Auroras has just been such a game changer for SouledOut here.
This time actually getting it out on the turn that we wish, and the gamble paid off, right? You were able to cycle a little bit more. You're now going to sacrifice that sabotage. Make sure to start ruining some more of the deck, really solidify your win, because you need technical too, right? This turn and the next to be able to claim that 8th, and you got to make sure that Batsu isn't going to be able to answer back. Adjusting your cards, making sure you have everything, all your ducks in a row. No one's going to be able to swap that one out. There's a call. Send your Drake over towards the obelisk and rotate everyone around. Yet again, feels good being able to rearrange everything.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big part right there. And here we go on the Auroras, and another 10 Might Dragon is just welcoming himself to the battle. And here we go on another reinforcement here.
I think Batsu's helping out. I love that camaraderie.
It's like, man, when is enough at this point? I mean, that is overkill at this point.
I think so, considering we saw the double Darius at one point was stacking, I think, like a 22-25, right? Back in round number 2. What's this count? I don't even... Is that over 30 over there?
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much would be at this point. And I mean, he can go ahead and take one. Does he have the grand stratagem in hand at this point? Bulletstorm very well could be coming out as well, and that could be a difference. Oh, but instead, no, it's just going to be a hop and a skip over to the other battlefield, giving the Darius the point.
Yep.
And he will be able to discard draw one. Cleave is gone at this point. Does he have grand stratagem in hand?
I don't even know if Grand Stratagem is going to be able to save you, right? That's a 4 in a
Oh, it
cycle.
looks like that is going to
Yep,
be a scoop at that
that's going to
point.
be GG. GG's, we get to think game number 3 here, Silent Night. Woo, that took a while to get to.
It did, but we managed it, and we are
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be seeing. I mean, at this point, do you make any differences in your sighting at this point? Sabotage was a really big factor, but I think that was really the only thing that we saw. We didn't see any challenge at this point in Sold Out's sighting.
I really do feel like it was the hitting of the Aeons, right? That felt really, really good. The Sabotage was there as a backup, but this was almost a complete reversal of game number 1 where we saw the unit stack coming out of Batsu. I wonder if you do just say, hey, that was a better luck of the draw. Let's keep it the same. You know, hey, I won. And I'm fairly certain I was in a very comfortable position. For Sold Out, you said, hey, this is great. I don't think you changed anything.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you got to just really hope that you can go ahead and take out the Auroras, or at least hope that your opponent doesn't necessarily draw it, because we've seen how much slower Miss Fortune moves if she is unable to get out the Auroras. And so and I mean, at the same time in game 2, Darius really struggled with having that early game because they didn't have the 2-drop unit. They weren't able to go ahead and get anything out until Darius, and because of that, that might have been the difference maker. We saw that the Darius was able to go ahead and get to 7, but wasn't able to get that final point. And would he have been able to do so if he just had that Poro in the starting hand?
I want to posit you a question. We're talking so much about the Darius. We're talking so much about these options that Sold Out could have had, and same with Batsu. Excuse me. Do you think the double baited hook baited Batsu to almost screwing over his own deck? Because we kept talking about that stratagem. Do you think that was actually a fault in there?
That's the difficult part, because it's like, with that being hindsight at least, it's like, yes, but at the same time, likewise, it could have actually gone through his deck just as efficiently and put the grand stratagem at top. And that's the tough part. We just don't necessarily know, because as much as it could have hurt him, it very well could have saved him. And in this case, you're right, though, it didn't save him in this case. The grand stratagem wasn't able to be found. And unfortunately, that was the thing that really cost him the game. And that's the hard part. You're only running 2 grand stratagems in deck. And, if one gets discarded by the Mind Splitters and things of that nature as well, it's like I don't have my win con for such a high might deck that Miss Fortune is throwing at me.
Well, guess what? Looking into game number 3, there are only a few more battlefields that we could go to. The Arena's Greatest that you mentioned before over for Batsu is there, but now we're looking at Vile Maw's Lair. And what is this going to bring to us? Because these are, again, so unique in the battlefield patterns that it felt like it has kind of changed the course of a lot of these games.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing, is Vile's Maw Lair is a very interesting battlefield, and not one that we necessarily see too much in this meta. In all the clashes, I don't think I've ever actually seen this be played, and it's very interesting because units can't move from here to base. So you go there, you're stuck there, even to your demise, and in this case, that could be very costly as the Darius player.
It hurts. It hurts to say so. Big stack up here, and you can see it. We knew what was coming out. Like, we obviously knew that it was coming. Both players were like, yeah, we're here to play. Now, who is going to go ahead and be that turn 1 menace? You go ahead and see Batsu. Batsu saying, yo, I'm ready to go. Let's spin those cards. Let's have a big blast, and let's get this last game underway. Big thing is that starting hand. What are you going to grab, and what do you got to mulligan? What do you got to toss out to go ahead and get the start of this underway? I gotta ask you, I don't ask for predictions that often, especially here in the TCG, especially when it comes to things like this. Who do you think has it coming into this game 3?
I think the biggest thing is going to be the battlefield advantage here with adding 1. If Darius can go ahead and get those early units out and start devastating the points gained, and Miss Fortune has to ramp up, I mean, you're looking 4 turns in on trying to go ahead and get your Dead Bloom Predator to be able to be played in base. That's difficult. And so if Darius, and I think he can this game, move fast, hit hard, Batsu can take this match.
All right, well, there you go. I was about to say you skillfully avoided my question, but you still answered it at the end. I appreciate that.
That'd be if I was in politics, you know. So we're talking about card games here. I can answer questions.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. I'm going to go political on it because I have no idea. Batsu and SouledOut have both amped into these positions of, you know, they've shown their strength. Both decks have shown how strong it can be and how well it can play a lot of the time. And it's just who hits it harder, who gets their magic moments. And you take a look at that hand right now for SouledOut, they're going to have to re-roll another hand in between. That is double stacked deck plus the Sacred Treasure, which we've seen amplified. But Batsu gets a roll of the tokens to start so neatly, which is something that I feel they were chasing earlier on as well that they weren't able to get in game 2.
Well, and this is the biggest thing, and I love this play for the Darius. This is exactly what you needed to go ahead and move fast. The seal counts as a card played, and then you're able to play the Vanguard Captain and immediately populate the board with 3 units come turn 1, or turn 2 in this case for Batsu. This is exactly what you needed to get moving. That is the play you need, and right now, going up 3, 2, 1.
So quick on the amp, and I almost want to say you can feel that panic coming across right now. But again, first SouledOut, you're able to amp up on the runes. You're already starting up, and you have that splitter in there already as well. Just as a blank slate, though, not exactly that Aurora that we love to talk about. But if you have to stall, this is a great time to do so. Cards counting down here. You are going to roll out, check what other ones are in deck, and maybe add a comfortable piece. Ride the win in hand if you wish to play for it. Another adjustment in there, but. Oh, Treasure Trove once again. Not the worst in the world, but I think you're hoping for something a little bit better in there.
Yeah, you're finding a lot of card draw, but not a lot of answers. That's the hardest part here. And it's like, I need to find stuff to solidify this game right now, especially with how fast Batsu is going to be able to move. And it's like, cool, that's awesome that I'm able to go ahead and play a unit. That's awesome that I'm able to then go ahead and recycle some cards and draw. But he found the dazzling Auroras. Now, again, the sabotage is in hand, but so is the Mind Splitter. And is that going to be the thing that changes the game here?
Well, the worst part is, before I feel like SouledOut actually had a few more turns to do so, we're already on turn 3. Batsu is on 5 and making it a staple. You see the board stack with the Kaisa in hand as well. It feels so good. You amp up, get an extra draw in there. So even if you take away one of the salvages, there's a second one in tow, most likely behind. Like, if this Kaisa isn't dealt with, if they're able to conquer very quickly, it feels like Batsu might have an answer, and SouledOut going ahead and rolling with this Aurora piece. It is a nice one to play. You're very happy about this draw. How many are being lost here? I believe that's about 6, 7 already. Is that? How many are you drawing?
Yeah, that's the big thing here, and the thing to keep in mind. And I mean, look at the finds that you are already starting to have. That is a 10 might unit now. Of course, that's still going to be some great points here, going up to 6, soon to be 7. We still don't necessarily have that win con, but the salvage is going to be coming out. Mind Splitter, unfortunately, not being played in this case, and so that could have been the thing that just solidified this match for Batsu.
Yeah. This is we went from 20-minute games down to a possible 7. You see in there the Draven's holding steady too. Like, this is Batsu went from game 1 filth to game 2 neck breaking to game 3 filth of another kind. This is, I mean, is there an answer to how quickly this could? I know it's going to be a 1-1 victory point take once the Drake comes out, but like, it's going quick.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I mean, you're looking at this, and there's the Draven, there's 9 might just like that. Here's all the answers, and it's like, cool, well, what are we going to be able to do? Yes, we take this battlefield. That's awesome, but the Draven can immediately answer back to that, you know, and you can take both battlefields and get the win here. And so it's like, I need to try to get things going. Maybe Dead Blue Predator in the other battlefield, but it's not in hand. It's like, what do you do at this point?
The worst part as well, remember Vile Maw's Lair. This is SouledOut's arena, right? Like, this is SouledOut's battlefield that they chose. They aren't able to negate and adjust that dragon out after taking, right? You are stuck here. You're kind of planting your feet here. You are drawn into this battle, at least to the most of my knowledge. I pray that I'm right here. But you are stuck in this position. Like, normally we saw the swap out, we saw the ganks, we saw the adjustments of some of the units.
And that's why I'm a little bit surprised by this as well, because you've seen how Misfortune's legend ability has been such a factor here, being able to add ganking. And now there we go with the Mind Splitter, being able to take a look at hand here, get rid of something in this case. And I mean, you're going to get rid of, you know, possibly the 4-mite unit in this case. That might be a little bit better here. But still, you see that, you know, you're not necessarily hitting anything all that great with Mind Splitter.
Oh, and this, did you really just stratagem?
And that is the top deck. And
one
that
card that
is
would have
a
a game too.
GG.
Oh, 7 minutes on the dot, baby. We talked about it, Silent Night. We said it was there. That is the win from 25 to 30 minutes to 7. I mean, if that's not a perfect personification of what decks can do in Riftbound, I don't know what is.
Yeah, well, and that's the biggest thing is you can see how, you know, Darius can play that long game if need be, but at the same time, if Darius can find the right cards, I mean, having that seal come out and then all of a sudden being able to add 3 units to the board and you're like, cool, I'm going to get 2 points this next turn and let's see what you can do. And you saw just how fast that went, and then, I mean, come on. Top decking the Grand Stratagem. That is the icing on the cake, which I am about to go eat now that we are finishing up this stream.
Yes, it has been an amazing time, and obviously we've been here for a while, so to those of you that have been tuning in, we thank you so much for your continued support. And if you wish to get in, please, as we talked about so many times, it's not even released yet. We are here messing around, having fun, having a blast, watching what works and what doesn't, maybe getting a little frustrated, but enjoying it all the same. Getting to know our fellow competitors, getting to know our community, and being able to showcase all the fun for you. Please go ahead, join on in, give us a follow as well here on Riftlab, because Riftlab, not only that, our producer Jacob putting in so much hard work to make this look as good as it has and only furthering the growth. Big shout out to them as well. We look forward to watching you join us on the next Riftlab Clash, and also mark your calendar for October. But for this stream, we are done. Round 4 is done. 4 of the amazing ones, and point totals will be sent out later. My name is Orbital. With me has been Silent Night. We had Jacob on the production, also our earlier 2 casters. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning on in, and we'll see you in the next one.